Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the monthly Q&A video. This is, of course, the series that we do once a month where you can submit your questions about wrestling, hobbies, life, or anything that you want to talk about. I got questions from both the YouTube community tab and X, so just look there once a month and you'll be able to submit your questions. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, ring the bell for notifications. If you're a wrestling fan, I know that you're going to fall in love with this YouTube channel because we always upload daily wrestling content. All right, let's just get to it. Let's get to the questions. What do you think about RTruths Release? I think I fall in the same camp as pretty much like 99.9% of wrestling fans right now, in that I think it's a huge bummer. I'm incredibly sad to see RTruth go because RTruth was one of the constantly entertaining things that WWE could always rely on. Whether WWE was on a bad, boring run of terrible TV or whether they were putting on some of the best TV episodes ever, RTruth was always there delivering an alternate form of entertainment, which was comedy. Was he having the best matches? No. Was he having the top tier feuds? No. Was he the most popular guy on the roster? No, but there was always something for him to do, and anytime he did that thing, people around the world were entertained. So to let a guy like this go for what I can only imagine is a couple of decimal points in the record profit of TKO in an era where they are charging ludicrous amounts of money for t-shirts, for tickets, for everything, has me just confused. Like, realistically, releasing RTruth, what could that possibly do to the bottom line of TKO? It's clear you were using him. It's clear that you saw some value in him, considering he was appearing on regular episodes of Friday Night SmackDown, considering he just had a major program that was universally praised, even if it wasn't this 5-star match, by wrestling fans around the world against none other than John freaking Cena on primetime TV on NBC. I'm just confused. And if the intention of WWE and TKO was not to re-sign RTruth, I don't understand why they wouldn't at the very least let him go out on a proper retirement note. Why didn't they do a loser leaves town storyline in a match for the world title against John Cena, where John Cena wins, RTruth gets released, and John Cena looks like an even bigger piece of trash that's ruining all of the good things about wrestling? Why release him after the program is done? To me, that just screams that there's no foresight there. And it's pretty clear that this is a universally hated decision, not just by fans. If you look at Triple H's most recent tweet congratulating Hijo del Vikingo on winning the AAA Mega Championship, a victory that was, by the way, spoiled by WWE themselves, the replies are just so vitriol, so full of hate because of WWE's recent decisions to release both RTruth and Carlito, who we'll talk a little bit more in this video. And if you look at the WWE superstars and employees' remarks and tweets about this, it's pretty clear that he was universally loved and that this is just coming to a shock for absolutely everybody. And I once again have to ask, if there's no cause, if you were using him, if he was clearly being entertaining, if he was moving merch, he was one of the top merch sellers when he was released with the Ron Cena shirt, why? I don't understand. I really don't get what the business mentality is with this particular release. After the recent drama with TKO regarding the releases of the superstars and the UFC-fication of the product, what is your biggest fear for WWE moving forward? I think you kind of hit it on the head. The UFC-fication of the product is kind of what has me nervous about WWE's future. If you are a UFC fan and you were into the UFC pre-say UFC 100, or like a pre-UFC even 200, you know that the product is very different and just feels a lot more soulless. And I'm scared that WWE is going to go down that route where, yes, obviously numbers and dollars are always going to be the most important thing, but it now feels like they're chasing these things at the expense of the identity of what WWE is all about. It feels like me, you, the people that help prop up this product to help make it what it is today, to help give it the identity amongst fans that it has, it looks like it's slowly being just changed in front of our very eyes to the point where WWE, in 10 years, I don't think it's going to be for the me's and you's of the world. It's going to be for the lowest common denominator, and it's just going to suffer from it. And suffer in terms of quality for the people that love just true, authentic WWE wrestling, but not suffer in terms of dollars because it just looks like things are getting better and better and better literally every single single month for TKO and WWE. And my biggest fear isn't just that WWE will lose its soul and identity, and I know it's poetic and almost silly to say soul considering the storyline with The Rock and taking the soul of John Cena and Cody Rhodes, but I'm nervous that they might be taking the soul of like wrestling in general. And that's why AEW right now is so important, because there is, of course, them buying AAA. There is probably them buying TNA somewhere down the line. The WWE ID program, NXT Europe starting soon, that's going to take over the indies on that part of the world. All of it will just become this big five-headed monster called the TKO WWE system. On the podcast, we talked about how we felt over the last several months that this wasn't the Triple H era of professional wrestling like many of us have been dubbing it, but instead it's turning into the TKO era, the corporate era, where it's going to lose its identity and feel soulless once everything is said and done. Meanwhile, the higher ups and executives are going to be rolling in it. Do you think that there's a chance to have WWE in South America? I'm from Brazil and I hope to have a show here someday. I think it's inevitable. I feel like WWE has their eyes out everywhere right now. They're trying to step into as many markets as possible. Right now, they basically feel unstoppable in terms of the amount of money and influence that they have. And I have to imagine that at some point or another, they're gonna want to foster a wrestling fan base in South America where wrestling really isn't that big. Right now, they have a Stephanie Vaquer, you know, probably the most famous South American wrestler right now out of Chile, but there isn't really too much movement in terms of like indie wrestling there, anywhere near as much as certain other parts of the world. But I'm imagining that at some point WWE is going to want to plant their flag there and grow wrestling, and thus grow WWE within one of the most populated areas of the planet. What was the moment that made young Santi fall in love with wrestling? Ooh, okay, this is a great question. It's definitely in 2002. I would say that it was The Rock in 2002 in particularly. Babyface Rock is just something that I immediately like gravitated to. His feud with Brock Lesnar was fantastic. But then I also at the same time, literally at the same time during the feud of Brock and Brock, I got to witness something a little bit deeper, something a bit more meaningful. Triple H versus Shawn Michaels, friend versus friend, becoming ultimate foe versus foe. That was also the storyline that made me appreciate wrestling beyond just seeing things as good guy, bad guy. Who do you think wins the Stanley Cup final this year? I'd love to see McDavid finally win his first cup, but I wouldn't mind Florida going back to back. I don't want to see Florida go back to back. I want to see a Canadian team bring the cup back home. Even though I'm not a huge Oilers fan, I'm going to root for the Oilers here. And no, do not make any Santi oil up jokes if the Oilers win. Stop. All right, I'm just gonna stop you now. Do you like pineapple on your pizza? I'll never admit it, but like I don't truly like hate it, but I'll never order it. Like if you give me a Hawaiian pizza, I'll eat it. I won't complain, and I'll probably think it's pretty good, but I'll never tell you that it's good. Here's Sean. Boom. Oh my God. Oh, you got me good, brother. Okay, that's crazy. That's crazy. Oh!
Oh, you know it.
Spear! Oh! That was a sneak peek of this week's Wrestling is Cool Match Club, available exclusively on patreon.com/SantiZap. This week, we're looking at a match between the two most hated men in wrestling, Vince McMahon versus Hulk Hogan, in a bloody anything goes match at WrestleMania 19. We're going to Royal Rumble 2024 to see the match between Roman Reigns, LA Knight, Randy Orton, and AJ Styles for the Undisputed Championship. We're looking at an indie gem between Adam Cole as NXT North American Champion going up against Gunther. The super kick heard around the world because we're going to be looking at Shawn Michaels versus Shelton Benjamin from Raw in 2005. And the high-flying classic between Hijo del Vikingo and Rey Fenix at Triple Mania. You're going to get this, plus the Raw reviews, the SmackDown reviews, and a whole host of other series that we can never upload on YouTube because we use actual real footage that would just get blocked on YouTube due to copyright problems. So come check it out. It's patreon.com/SantiZap. I'm confident that if you even try for 1 month, that you're going to fall in love with all of the daily content that we upload there, plus the community that we have there as well. If you're already a patron, thank you so much for your support, but now let's get you back to the video. What is your favorite animated children's movie of all time? Okay, so like if we're talking specifically like children's movie that eliminates many like great animated movies that I like, I really like Inside Out. Inside Out 1 and 2, I literally cried. As a grown-ass man, facial hair, graying beard, I cried my eyes out to both Inside Out 1 and Inside Out 2. The panic attack scene when she's playing hockey and her anxiety is going all over the place, I was bawling my eyes out because I've had anxiety attacks before, and that is exactly how it feels. And seeing a children's movie like visualize it perfectly so that I can explain to somebody what an anxiety and panic attack feels like made me bawl my eyes out. I love those two movies. What was your first concert ever? I guess this is kind of appropriate as a wrestling fan because my first concert ever was Nickelback, and they did the Raw theme for like the early 2010s. What's your take on the releases of R-Truth and Carlito? Also, do you think Cross is next since his deal is coming up too and they refuse to push him? Okay, so we already talked about R-Truth. We can talk a bit about Carlito and expiring contracts in general. Obviously, I'm also bummed that Carlito is leaving the WWE with 2 weeks of notice. His contract is also not being renewed. If I'm looking at similarities between R-Truth and Carlito, I think we're seeing comedic talent, older talent as well, that they aren't using too much in the ring being released. So I don't think that there is a shield or a guard of simply you're actually being used on TV, so we're going to re-sign you. These guys are appearing constantly on TV and they still got released anyway with their expiring contracts. I'm also bummed for Carlito, but we already saw Carlito already doing things. He's winning championships in Puerto Rico already in his dad's promotion. Nepotism, am I right? Jokes aside, I'm also bummed that Carlito is going because he was one of the best comedic reliefs on Monday Night Raw. And I feel like we're losing, again, some of that identity that made WWE special. And it's not just this corporate run wrestling show. We're getting more towards just becoming what I don't want it to become. When it comes to Karrion Kross, it's not just the Karrion Kross thing. I think if I'm a WWE talent and my deal is coming up, I'm going to try and negotiate that son of a bitch as soon as possible. I'm not going to leave this to the last minute because leaving it to the last minute might just make the decision for you. For TKO to say, nah, we're good. If I'm Karrion Kross or any contracted talent that's about to have their contract expire, I am fucking scared. Like genuinely, I would be concerned that my contract is not going to be renewed. So you asked, do I think that he's next since his contract is coming up soon and they refuse to push him? I think if I'm him, I'd have that in the back of my head. Are you buying the Sydney Sweeney bathwater soap? I had to Google this. It's a thing. And no, I'm not buying human bathwater soap, even if it is Sydney Sweeney. Tell us something about your education and job. In what field have you graduated? And before YouTube, where were you working? So this is my job now. This is what I do as full-time to feed myself, feed my family, pay my mortgage, etc. Before this, in school, I graduated in legal studies and political science. So I had a dual degree there. I was accepted to law school. I didn't go to law school because I couldn't afford law school. So I ended up going into work, into a sales job in a fitness company. I ended up doing really well there. So I kept pushing law school further and further until eventually they couldn't hold my acceptance anymore. So then I didn't pursue law school. And then the pandemic hit, all gyms around the world closed. And then I went into the tech world, became a tech salesperson. The name of the role is called account executive. I won't tell you what tech company I work for. I don't want to dox that. But during my time working as an account executive is when I started the YouTube and the Twitch and stuff. And eventually this took over. And now this is what I do as a full-time career. Worst match you've seen on a WWE PLA. So I've seen plenty of bad ones. You know, you're bound to see a handful of garbage ass matches produced by the WWE in premium live events if you've been watching since 2002. But the one that like made me the most angry, I think has to be Ronda Rousey versus Shayna Baszler at SummerSlam. That like fake like MMA shoot style match was just so bad. In our lifetime, will we see WWE and AEW work together on a cross promotion PLE? I don't know how old you are, but in my lifetime, I'm 32. I think so. You know, like I think anything is possible. I mean, we saw a world where WWE bought out its competition, a competition that at one point was bigger than it in WCW. We're seeing it work with organizations all over the world, with Noah, with TNA, with AAA, well, just straight up buying AAA. So, you know, if you're asking me, is this possible? I think the answer, ever since CM Punk came back to the WWE, anything's possible. Given the fact that Trick Williams won the TNA World title at Battleground, who should be the first TNA superstar to win the WWE WWE title. I read that wrong. A WWE title. So like an NXT title, NXT North American champion, whatever it might be. I think Santana's a great shout. He's already feuding with Trick Williams for that TNA championship. I think maybe like a Nick Namath coming back into NXT to win some NXT championship gold is a good option. I think the easiest, most logical option is probably Joe Hendry. I feel like Joe Hendry's probably the first one to take a title off of NXT. Can I have your thoughts on JC Jane winning the NXT championship? So that obviously caught me by complete surprise, as it shocked basically the entire wrestling world. I wasn't expecting it to be JC Jane, if I'm being honest with you. I'll be honest, I'm a big JC Jane fan. I've been asking for JC Jane to be pushed for a really long time. I thought that JC Jane was going to get put into the women's championship picture for like months and almost like a year ago at this point. But then they created Toxic Attraction. I'm like, okay, she's going back to a jobber or somebody in the mid card. And then all of these crazy women join the women's roster in NXT. I'm like, oh, the JC Jane thing is never going to happen. And then they do it here, which was, I guess, like cool to get a shock title change like this. But then I wonder, why didn't they do it for Jordynne Grace at Battleground? But now the rumor is that Jordynne Grace is also now on the main roster. So I guess I'm fine with it, even though it like broke my heart to see Stephanie Vacher lose. What actor/actress portrayed the villain so well that you feel so much rage just by thinking about them from a film and or a series? Vince McMahon was pretty good at that. Unfortunately, he ended up becoming a real life villain. But in terms of fictional villains, I think his name is Jack Gleason. I believe he played King Joffrey Baratheon in the adaptation of A Song of Ice and Fire, Game of Thrones. He was a piece of shit. I did not like that guy. I know you primarily do WWE content, but considering that you'll be watching AEW's All In instead of WWE Saturday Night's Main Event, as you mentioned before, would you do hot takes for All In? So Saturday night's main event is not happening at the same time as All In. Saturday night's main event is at night. All In is in the afternoon. All In is going to be going head to head with the Great American Bash. So I'm going to be watching All In instead of the Great American Bash. Will I do hot takes for it? No. Usually because I wouldn't do hot takes for NXT anyway. But also, if I'm, removing a little bit of the veil of the business, AEW content just doesn't do well. I love AEW. I watch AEW regularly. I cannot wait for All In. I can't wait to go in person to All Out in Toronto, but AEW content just doesn't do well. Hell, the guys from Wrestle Talk, the British wrestling news outlet here on YouTube, they've said as much. Like, their AEW content just suffers. There's just nowhere near as much interest. I've been watching the Wrestling is Cool podcast a lot recently, and I think you and Sancho have great vibes. Have you guys ever met, and would you ever consider doing a fan meet and greet? We have met a couple of times, and the chemistry is basically the exact same. I would love to eventually do a live show with him, whether it's live with an audience or just like me and him in the same room. I feel like that would be a lot of fun. Would we ever consider doing a fan meet and greet? I would think so. I would love for one day at WrestleMania weekend for us to rent out a hotel hall or something and do a live recording of the Wrestling is Cool podcast with hopefully some people in attendance. I would hope some people would show up. With Jordynne Grace seemingly on her way to SmackDown, what program would you want to see her get inserted into from the get-go? Love the content, Santi, the best wrestling YouTuber on the platform. Thank you. I appreciate the kind words. In terms of Jordynne Grace, I think it'd be awesome if they inserted her immediately into the US title picture. What a way to insert life into a division that just seems like it's crumbling and dying by putting both Julia and Jordynne Grace immediately right off the rip into that division. I would love to see that. I would love for Julia to become US champion and not long after feud with Jordynne Grace. I feel like that would breed so much life into that division. Will you invite guests to join the podcast episodes with you and Sancho, like Wheezy, Conman, Minnie, and Denise? The answer is plainly no, because Sancho and I really like the dynamic of a two-person podcast. We just know from our own personal experience that podcasts that have more than two talking heads can get really difficult, especially when you're not in person. People start talking over each other. People get uncomfortable as to like when they can jump in and when to stay quiet, when to share their opinion. So instead, what we've been doing is doing more like little micro collaborations with creators. We did this awesome wrestling trivia thing where we had Wheezy and Conman that we plan to do again. So people like Minnie, Denise, the other wrestling content creators around the globe can partake in that so that we can introduce them to you as well as viewers of the podcast and this channel. But in terms of like the podcast, probably not. Will you be at All Out in Toronto? The plan right now is yes, unless WWE decides to counter program with like the most insane show ever, I'll probably be here. But WWE has been counter programming recently, so I'm fully expecting it. Do you ever plan on doing fan meet and greets? If so, which cities would you do it in besides Toronto, obviously? Yeah, I would do a meet and greet, but I'm gonna be honest, whenever I go to a wrestling wrestling show, it turns into a meet and greet, like not on purpose, because I meet like literally like thousands of you come up to me to like take photos, shake hands, ask me questions, whatever it might be. And I always make sure that I give everyone the time of day, whether they just want to have a 5-second conversation. I've had like 10 minutes conversations with people. So, I mean, I've basically already been doing them impromptu when I go to wrestling shows. Who was your biggest idol that you looked up to growing up? It's always been my dad. My dad's been a really, really hard worker. When we immigrated to Canada as refugees from Colombia, he would take on every single job imaginable, the non-glamorous jobs, paper delivery. He would do like custodian work, cleaning, all of that stuff. He did all of that just to be able to, give me a life, make sure that I was always eating. But the cool thing is that even though this man was like breaking his back every single day to work, he never missed a single one of my sports games. And I played so much sports every single day. This guy would drive me and watch my practices, watch my my games, etc. And to this day, he is my biggest fan doing what I do now. In fact, Papa Zap is the reason I do this as a full-time creator. He's the one that convinced me to quit my job to do this. So shout out Papa Zap. Hi Santi, I know that you've said that you're a big Nintendo fan. Are you excited about the Nintendo Switch 2 and did you pre-order one? I am. I've pre-ordered one, but it's not guaranteed that I'll get one because of like limited supply. So fingers crossed, hopefully I'll get to play the new Mario Kart World because that shit looks bomb. What wrestler stocks are you invested in? See, you guys are trying to get a little bit of insider knowledge. You guys realize that I was right for years about Dominic Mysterio, and now you're trying to become millionaires like me and the many other Dom millionaires around the world. I am invested, not heavily, but I've put a little bit of financial risk onto Ivy Nile. I feel like there's something there down the line. So maybe invest early, invest cheap on Ivy Nile, because I think we got something there. What are your genuine and honest opinions on the current Cena heel run? I'm gonna be real. I was kind of weird seeing him glaze Logan, but from a storyline perspective, it kind of makes sense with his character to do an impo. I have no idea what the hell impo is, but I've been a little bit let down by the John Cena retirement tour. There's been more let down than there's been good. Like, I'll say this, look, the WrestleMania match and program, bad. The program right now with Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso, Logan Paul, I would say not good. I wouldn't qualify it entirely as bad, just not good. But the R-Truth thing was fun, and the Randy Orton program, that was awesome. So there's stuff to like, but I still feel like they just aren't hitting the mark with it. So we'll see if it continues to be a letdown, because it seems to be a letdown for a lot of people, but I think I'm more bullish and optimistic than many people are. What do you think of this? Hell in a Cell, Naomi versus Jade Cargill. I kind of like it. I feel like we're on our way to earn this match. I feel like the storyline is good. I feel like the motivation is worth something like a Hell in a Cell. For surface value right now, I would say I'm into this. All right, folks, thank you so much for watching this month's Q&A. I wish that it wasn't during the R-Truth and Carlito stuff, man. It's just such a bummer. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care. Goodbye and get out of here.